Hi guys, Ace's back from Twisted Dice, and I'm here with another Tyranid video for you today. And we've got a very special, very special video because we couldn't really talk about Tyranids without getting somebody that knows a lot more about them in the current meta than I do. Because as much as I say that I am a die-hard Tyranid player, anybody that knows me knows that I've probably won more with Tau than I have with Tyranids, embarrassingly so. So I thought that I wasn't in the best place to really give the new book the full attention it deserves. So today I've invited on Alex Macdougall, absolute Tyranid legend, die-hard Tyranid player, member of the Art of War team, and altogether great guy. So welcome, Alex. Thank you very much for coming along.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
So we've done a video already, Alex, on kind of my kind of thoughts and kind of a review on it, but you know, we just wanted to start off with before we kind of get sort of started on what the book's all about. Could you just kind of tell everybody a little bit about yourself and kind of, you know, how you've made a name for yourself, I suppose, more than anything?
Yeah, for sure. Excuse me. I've been playing Warhammer for about 20 years, probably a good 75% or more of that has been with Tyranids or GSE. I've dabbled in a couple other things, but I always kept coming back, and it's been Tyranids Appear for like 5 years now. I've won a number of majors in Canada with Tyranids and a couple of GTs in 9th, which I believe I'm the only person to do it with Forces of the Hive Mind yet. And then, yeah, through a couple of other people, I eventually ran into Nanavati and joined up with Art of War. Been doing the coaching for about a year now, and just been enjoying 9th edition.
Excellent. So if somebody really wanted some sort of some advice on how to run Tyranids to the best possible ability, or GSE, they could get in touch with Art of War and, you know, maybe get some advice from yourself.
Absolutely.
Good stuff.
Yeah, the Discord is always chugging along. Lots of good info in there too. Good stuff.
Well, as I said, it's a real pleasure to have you on the channel with your fountain of knowledge. And I know you'll be brutally honest, I'm a little bit more probably optimistic, and I probably try and see the best out of the Tyranids a little bit more. I know from chats with you, you'll be a little bit more honest, and you know, you've seen things from the real kind of competitive edge. So that'd be really kind of good to get that kind of take on things. So what's your overall thoughts on the new book? What's your kind of your overriding feeling?
It's a little mixed, but sometimes it's a little mixed because some things I think are almost a little too good. There are things for the game that are fairly oppressive, and almost all of those come down to the things that we can't interact with. A lot of people can't interact with flyers. Obviously, we've seen that's a big issue. And I think some of the buffs that we can throw onto 1 or 2 packs of Hive Guard is going to make people feel very bad. Now, that being said, obviously, if it's making people feel bad, it means it's very powerful. I think some of the buffs that we got are crazy strong. But yeah, some people might not enjoy playing against it particularly. But yeah, overall, I mean, I love getting new rules. I loved building the new puzzle with the new puzzle pieces. Overall, it's a great experience.
And as far as sort of taking us, you know, I suppose, you know, you've had a lot of success with particularly Forces of the Hive Mind, so combining the best bits of the 2 books, and you know, still doing well. As you said, you've won a GT not that long ago, so they're obviously not that bad. But as far as kind of where you believe it's taken the army as a whole from kind of what's considered as fairly middle, sort of low of the pack, I suppose, where do you think it kind of puts the army as a kind of as a powerhouse now?
Oh, like right outside of S tier. We're not able to compete with the most abusive like Orc and AdMech lists. Yeah. But honestly, just about everything else I think we've got a shot into. And I definitely think we punch down now at a lot of armies that we didn't used to. The big complaint for like the abilities that we got is I have some issues with the fact that we didn't get any defensive things. We got like 1 defensive Synaptic link, but our damage output just went through the roof. So we definitely, if we can play games where we can slow it down or we don't get interacted with immediately from flyers, which again, that's where our problems lie with poor defense, then we'll always have a solid chance to win the game.
That's fantastic. That's good news. And as far as you said, you've been using a combination of the 2, and I think you know, I think if I was going to be honest, that's up till now definitely been, you know, the way that you play the army most effectively, because you can play those secondaries so much better with GSC, and you give yourself so much more protection with blips and what have you. It just gives you a kind of a bit more of a defense mechanism to kind of defend that shooting element and that, you know, the bits that we had previous. Do you think that Tyranids can be played probably more mono now, or do you think they still probably rely or are massively benefited from the Gene Stealer cult?
I would say that if you were to take a look at the ways you could build a list, I think the best option is still with GSC, but the gap has massively narrowed. Before it was like clearly the best choice. If somebody came to me and said, "Hey, I think that the best way to play it is Leviathan and Chronos, or Leviathan and Kraken, or just pure Leviathan," I could completely see those arguments.
Cool.
I just like playing with GSC because it does open up secondaries in a very unique way. And I like the models. I like having my little prisoners running around.
Yeah, and I think we'll kind of touch on that right at the end, because as I said, I think it'd be interesting to kind of get that take. My mindset is very much kind of more pure, but you know, more and more as I'm kind of starting to build competitive lists, I can see where that strength comes in. So let's dive in and look a little bit at the book itself. So rather than go through everything, because everybody's seen that before, we talked about it quite a lot. I just thought we'd kind of hit on the highlights and kind of get your views on it. So if we start off with those Warlord traits. So you've got 3 Warlord traits. You know, obviously that Chapter Master rerolls is pretty strong. What's your thoughts on probably the other 2?
I love redeploy. I don't know if it's better than Chapter Master, but I like it more, and it opens up ways to play the game in a very unique way. Like your positioning can just be so wild. You can have Gene Stealers like directly on the front line, and if I go second, okay, fine, I'll just pull them back. You can put the Devourer Gaunts on the front line, and if you go second, pull them off the board. Like, it's saving you CP that you used to have to spend to put things into reserves. You can play super aggressively if you go first. You can have the Gene Stealers up. You can shove the Hive Guard forward and suddenly have them in a really good position. If they were placing their 1 or 2 really good shooting units out of range, and you suddenly forward deploy them, or not forward deploy, but redeploy them right to the front, kill both of those, well, now your Hive Guard are safe, even if they were standing in the open. Like, you can just do these crazy aggressive plays, and I like playing an aggressive game. I like pushing the issue, and I just enjoy playing it that way more.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think when we spoke originally, I was kind of like, well, that's good, but I can't really see it being so vital. But now I've started using it more. It's now, I think I'm with you. I couldn't think of a game when I would not want to use that. It's just, have that in your back pocket is just so strong for for just so many different reasons. It feels ultimately like a bit of a must-have. Is that kind of fair?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to leave home without it anymore. Now that I have it, I don't want to lose it.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about the ugly duckling here. So what do you make of that 3rd Warlord trait? What because I can't really make head nor tail out of whether it's horrendously bad, whether there's anything in there.
I would have to look at it again. I'm just so enamored with Chapter Master rerolls and the redeploy. I haven't really looked too much into it, but you're really only allowed to pick the ones from the Gene Stealer, from the Tyranid book, right?
Yes, right. That's right. Yeah.
Because if you could use it to roll into Chapter Master as well at some point, I actually think it would be really good. There's some good Warlord traits in there, but they're just very situational. I could see you throw your Devourer Gaunts forward, you know, give them the full package, the full Teslas and rerolls, and then also remove your opponent's cover. I
like that one. That was the one I was thinking. That's good, right? But
yeah, that's really solid. Maybe if you happen to go up against Thousand Suns and Grey Knights, you could use Soul Hunger from Chronos and just start throwing out mortals. But I feel like it's too situational too much of the time.
And it's never going to get picked by the others, in front of the others, right?
Yeah. And if all I had was Chapter Master rerolls and pick another Warlord trait, I would definitely pay the CP for that extra pick anything, for sure. It's still good enough to have that little back pocket ability, but you look at the other 2 and it's just, I don't think it's a comparison.
Yeah. So you're always going to spend CPs and probably get those 2. What's your pick of the unit to put them on? Because obviously that's quite a lot of power. I know we talk about the stratagems where you've got kind of a bit of a get out of jail card on them, but what's your kind of your pick? What where do you normally put those, or where would you put that?
Oh, I'm definitely doing like all the eggs in one basket. It's like
Yeah.
the relic, the warlord traits, and a synaptic link. I think the prime is a good choice. He's pretty durable to the point where people won't just get assassinated by like a vindicator, or if somebody's dedicated with like eliminators or something. I don't feel bad if I don't use him. Like a broodlord is too many points where I'm like, I really kind of want to like push him forward and do damage. The prime is fine to just sit at the back, and I guess we'll get there, but the auto wounding synaptic link on Gene Stealers is absurd. It's nuts.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll touch a little bit on that because I've got some interesting questions on that, because it gets really confusing real quick, all the stuff that goes on with them Gene Stealers. So let's talk about those synaptic links before we go on to the stratagems. So are there any bad ones? Is probably the Neurothrope one, right? Is that the only bad one? Everything else has play.
Pretty weak. I would say that other than the Neurothrope one, I would say that all of the synaptic links, as like rules on the page, I think they're all good. I just think that sometimes they get attached to bad bodies.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of zone thropes at 50 points apiece right now, and getting 3d6 to cast isn't really breaking anything. The Turvagon one is excellent, but a Turvagon with a synaptic link is like 215 points or something like that, which, that feels bad.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because it is so strong. It is so strong. And then I read a Goonhammer article on it the other day, and they were talking about the effectiveness of it versus what we will talk about is the Maleceptor. And the Turvagon one is probably better as a buff potentially. It's less situational, but it's on that Turvagon. That Turvagon just feels like a big lump of wasted nothing.
Yeah. It's really big and hard to hide. This was my thing. I looked at the Turvagon and I looked at the Maleceptor. I guess we should talk about that. The Maleceptor is the roll damage. Roll damage and AP6 on wound rolls of 6s, which is gravy. And I thought, okay, they're roughly the same points. Let's talk about what does it do for me if its buff isn't particularly great. Okay, well, the Maleceptor just does more. You can throw out the diffusion for the -1 incoming strength on shots. It's got 2 casts. It casts at +1. It's kind of hilariously good into Thousand Suns and Grey Knights with the Brain Burst. It's tougher with a 4+ invuln. So, I think even if you just don't get any value out of some of the other things, it has enough little toolboxy things that I don't feel bad if the reroll damage is wasted.
Yeah, I think that's where my mindset is on it. I think that that strength debuff, whereas before it was kind of, it was nice, but again, it did feel like a bit of a tax previously. Now you have kind of that as well as the synaptic link. It starts to stack things up a little bit to make that unit, quite attractive. And I think that when we're going into the matchup of the Death Guard or Dreadnoughts, that reroll damage is hugely powerful for us, I think.
Or a lot of the one that really surprised me, and I don't really know, I didn't think about it before, was just how good it is into 3 wound models. Because it's very obvious to be like, okay, 2 wound models. If I ever roll a 1, I reroll it. That's very obvious. But the 3 wound models, I realized you just dig for 3s. So if you roll a 1, or so let's say even if you roll a 2, I was rerolling 2s into 3s because even if I roll into a 1, my next dice has a very, very high likelihood of rolling at least 2 damage. So I killed him on 2 shots anyway. Great. So I just dig for 3. So I went into Thousand Suns Terminators, and I rolled a 1 into a 3, and then I rolled a 3, and then I rolled a 2 into a 3. Normally you'd have 5 of I had 5 go past the saves, and I would expect maybe 2 and a bit dead Terminators, and I killed 4. So it's almost doubling the overall damage output, which was it was wild.
I think that seems to be my go-to. And then I suppose you can't look past the Warriors, right?
The Warrior buffs is fantastic. +1 to hit, the fact that it's not even ballistic skill or weapon skill, the fact it's just whatever you want. So good.
So when you've got your warrior blob, so I've kind of been building the list, and are you thinking we go minimum cheap as we possibly can on those warriors, or is that buff too worrying to potentially lose? And are you thinking about maybe making that warrior blob a little bit bigger so you can throw the stratagem on to, you know, to reduce that damage and try and kind of dig them in a little bit? Are you worried that somebody's just going to pick up that little unit of 3 warriors? What's your thoughts?
I mean, the 3 warriors are 63 points, and then the Synaptic link. So I'm looking at them kind of in the same way as like Hormagaunts. So I'm willing to just put them on the backboard, buff all game, and just zone out Deep Strikers and do Rod on turn 1 or something. And I could see somebody bumping up maybe to 4 if we are worried about like rocket trucks, for instance, do damage to them. I could also see, like, I think, funnily enough, I think finally with all of this, since I'm going to be taking a Prime anyway, maybe it's the time for like a full 9-pack. You just have 2 9s and a Prime, and the Warriors just, you know, hand out their buff to each other, and suddenly you've got a ton of pluses to hit, like even +2 to hit if you're looking to hunt like flyers or something, and auto wounding 6s. I don't know, maybe. I haven't done it yet because I've been pushing a certain archetype, but I could see it for sure.
There's too many good stuff, right? Ultimately, there's just too many good stuff.
We're having this, the fact that we have to even have this talk, and we're not just like, yeah, we know what the best stuff is really refreshing.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, and then the other ones, you know, before we kind of move on to stratagems, I think the other ones that they still have play, you know, the longer consolidate on the Tyrant, I believe, is that right?
Yeah.
And then the fallback and charge and shoot on the Dragon Prime. They're not bad, but I think, you know, those other ones are just so stand out, right? You're probably at the moment where we currently are until a new codex or other rules. The other ones seem to sort of stand out, right, as far as where we are.
Yeah, I think it's the ones where the reason they're good is because they are benefiting the data sheets we were already using. So I guess that I should say that's my only other complaint is I don't think this did anything to like resurrect the stuff we didn't use. It just took all the stuff that was good and like cranked it up to 11.
Yeah, it's a funny marketing tool, isn't it? Because you kind of like, if you're Games Workshop, you think, well, I'm going to try and sell some more models. Well, this is the one thing that isn't going to sell models, because all they're doing is making the models that are in everybody's Tyranid collection just twice as powerful. There's very few Tyranid players.
Everyone had Gaunts, everyone had Gene Stealers, everyone had Hive Guard. Nothing's changed. I think the only thing that they'll notice is selling really hot is like, man, we're selling a lot of Maliceptors. Yeah, because no one had them before.
And Warriors, maybe. There's a few Warriors, maybe. A few people that didn't buy Warriors. But yeah, on the whole, I think Maliceptors are the one that stock's gone up significantly. So let's jump into the stratagems. My initial reaction, I don't know about yours, but was that there was actually very few poor stratagems in there. They all were quite useful.
Yeah, there was a surprising amount of good ones. And some of them are more niche, but all of them, I'm looking at them and going, this is good stuff.
So what's your highlight? What's your favorite? And the most obvious, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, okay, we'll go with like favorite head and favorite heart. So favorite heart is exploding monsters.
Yeah.
I love just being like, yeah, no, he blows up for sure. That's so much fun. Especially, I know some people are going to be running the barbed duels and they blow up for flat 3. Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that at all.
Every once in a while, you're going to get like a softened up like barbed duel. And you're gonna Swarm Lord and go, yep, go get him, and like go and have him die and just blow up as a nuke in the middle of your opponent's lines. But obviously the best one is Relentless Fury.
Yeah, definitely. And the fact that you can use that then in the assault phase and in the shooting phase, it's pretty strong. And you know, I suppose it's goes without saying that the target is the Hive Guard, right? Almost every time, right?
I could definitely see some turns where you go Devours.
Yep.
That really juices up the damage output on them. But yeah, like I think the normal like the obvious one is the Hive Guard, because everyone was running Symbiostorm before, and now we don't need Symbiostorm anymore. Especially since it's not modified 6s anymore, so we can also like keep the Hive Guard moving if we have to. Because before it was like stationary Chronos Hive Guard, nuts. Put a forest in the way or have one guy move an inch and suddenly they just turn into garbage.
Yeah.
They're a lot more reliable.
Nice.
The Relentless Fury Gene Stealers with the auto wounding though and Chapter Master rerolls is wild.
Yeah, so let's talk about this one, because I think this one's, you know, I I think you will know straight away what you can do and what you can't do, because there's lots of different kind of questions around this one, I suppose. So if you're auto wounding on 6s with those hits, do they count as a 6 on the wound roll when they auto wound?
No, there is a specific thing in the FAQ that anything that auto anythings goes as like the base profile. So when you roll your 6 to hit, if you've got the Relentless Fury strat on them and the auto wound on them and Chapter Master rerolls, all that stuff, you get your 6, which becomes a wound at AP 1 or 3 if it's acid mods, and then you get 2 more hits, and they just exist as 2 more hits.
Yes.
So it kind of breaks out. The math
so you
works
can't
out.
be doing all the crazy stuff.
Yeah. If you give Chapter Master rerolls and the Relentless Fury to the Gene Stealers, it doubles their output almost exactly. I think it's like their output is like 203% or something like that. If you do the auto wounds, the math works out you should just dig for 6s. Like you roll, I'm running 16s, so you roll 64 dice. On average, you get 11 6s. You just set those 11 aside, scoop up your other 53 dice and roll them all again, and just dig for more 6s. I charged a Venom, 6 Toughness 5 Reaver jet bikes, 8 racks, and 5 Cavalite Warriors, and I killed all of them. Just the entire, nothing lived, nothing had to roll morale, just all of those units disappeared, and then I overran into his army and tied him up.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And but it is all down to that overrun still. And I think that's the thing that I suppose, they were pretty good before. So I suppose if you're new to Gene Stealers, it's still you still got to play around with the fact that it's a relatively expensive unit still, and that once it kills something, if you don't know how to play them, they will then just disintegrate afterwards. So you're always kind of going to be planning an out. Every kind of engagement, it's where's my out? How do I get another turn out of these Gene Stealers? I suppose is kind of your mindset. If you're going to take
at the very least, how can I get some bit of value? Like, okay, I've done the damage. Now, can I move block? Can I overrun onto their objective? Are they in engage on all fronts by doing that? Like, where are those little microscopic things you can get out of it? Can I touch a vehicle that now has to shoot at the Gene Stealers instead of at my Malanthrope that stepped out into the open?
Yeah. So it's the value, and I think that's it. And it's really, really important, because I think that when you look at the damage output now, it's really easy to kind of go, well, I want Gene Stealers back in my army again. They haven't really changed in the fact that you still could go in and disintegrate quite a lot before. That's not really changed. And so I know you've been playing Gene Stealers constantly, pretty much since the day you dawn. So you're very used to playing in that style. But I think if somebody's kind of getting back into Tyranids that haven't played them because they've not been kind of, in favour, and then they grab Gene Stealers again because they see, all these buffs that you can do to them, I think you might still be disappointed pretty quickly if you don't understand the fragileness of the Gene Stealer still.
Yeah, I think that's also why they're so powerful in tandem with redeploy. Either you can use them super aggressively, or they are your bailout button to get you back and safe with Gene Stealers. I'm only running 16 and 12 or 16 and 16 in the list that I've been trying, so I'm not going super heavy on them. I wouldn't roll 20s like a lot of people have been talking about, because it's a literally overkill on like everything except like a knight. The auto wound is really what that's to let Gene Stealers do, is punch into heavier targets. Like, we all know Gene Stealers used back in the day just destroyed Marines, anything with toughness 3 that with like a decent armor save. But as soon as you threw toughness 5 at them or better, and you're only wounding a third of the time, it really started to like decrease their value. And this has just allowed them to you can hunt tanks, you can hunt demon princes, they just go for it now.
Yeah, no, definitely. So any other stratagems? What are the other ones that kind of stand out for you?
Definitely a couple others. I have them all on my phone here.
While you're looking through them, I suppose the one that I think is quite interesting is the one where you can change your high fleet. That one, I think that's really, really interesting. Very, very clever. But also it opens up quite a lot of questions, I suppose, as well around, you know, what do they gain from that hive fleet? How does that interaction actually works? You know, do you have access to the stratagems for that hive fleet? You know, how does that work with synapse? Do they lose your synapse from Leviathan units? What's your kind of take on how it works?
Yeah, the wording is reasonably specific. I think you just gain the actual benefits of that hive fleet. I don't even think you change. Select one Leviathan unit from your army, and then select a hive fleet adaptation. You lose the Leviathan adaptation, you gain the other hive fleet adaptation, but you are still hive fleet Leviathan in the hard parentheses.
Yeah. So for instance, if you're because we talk about those gene stealers, we were just talking about them. So you say you need that extra leverage because you need that extra pace. You know, maybe you're not close enough to Swarmlord, or you've decided for whatever reason you're not going to take Swarmlord. You want to make sure that you've got that 3d6. You know, take the highest is going to give you that little bit extra kind of reliability on those gene stealers, but you wouldn't be able to use the Kraken stratagem to make them double that.
Yeah, that's correct.
Basically. Cool. Cool.
It's very expensive. Like 2 CP for that is no joke.
Yeah.
I definitely would pull the trigger on when it's like almost to the point of game winning, or know somebody's not planning for it. They're not thinking about the stratagem, or they don't see the value of it. I think a lot of times, instead of doing it to get like a general boost of speed, I think a lot of times it will be a wrap on something, and then you fall back in charge with the Kraken ability.
Yeah,
that's going to be the one. Like, oh well, you're Leviathan. You know, you're stuck in combat there. No, I'm not.
Yeah. I mean, again, I suppose you'd be throwing a lot of CPs at it, but again, especially if you've got your chapter master rerolls on one of your units of Hive Guard, and you've got your second one, and that one's going to use the Maleceptor to try and really crack open a juicy vehicle or a heavy target with that reroll damage. You know, you might want to have that reroll ones from the Kronos just to bring that effectiveness up a little bit more, because you haven't got the rerolls. Even if you're twos, because then you just got that bit more effectiveness. So yeah, I think there's probably some really, really crucial times when you'll push the button on that, and I just think it's a really clever. It reminds me very much of the one the Space Marines used to have a while ago, that I know you used to work quite well, when you used to be able to, I can't remember what book that came out of, but you used to be able to change what chapter they were from. Don't know if you remember that, but yeah. Exciting stuff. Anyway, other stratagems for you?
The ability to do deny on a 4+ from any Leviathan unit is interesting. If you have something that's very far forward, being able to stop some very key spells, maybe a warp time or a whatever the spell is called for Cult of Duplicity to deep strike something in. I think that is situational but very clutch. The other one that I think is interesting is the Hivebind Imperative. I think that's the other big one, making something objective secured.
Yes.
That has been something that has made me re-evaluate like Raveners. Just having a 3-pack of Raveners, because with Swarmlord around, they'll average like a 30-inch move, and you suddenly make them objective secured, and you just slingshot them across the board, and go, oh, that's my objective now.
Yeah.
On your like that back primary that you thought was untouchable.
Yeah, I mean, with Swarmlord, they are literally, you put them anywhere on the board, because obviously with the double move as well, and with the double move on those, you don't really have to worry about it, because you're not going to lose one. You're only going to lose, a couple of mortal wounds at most. And you can put them anywhere. So yeah, I really like that. How about the mortal wounds? The mortal wounds on the flesh borers or the flesh borer hives. What's your thoughts on that one?
I think it's interesting. I think it's one that's going to be tough to get into practice because of the range restrictions. If I'm remembering correctly, when is it applied? Is it applied in the not a command phase, is it?
No, it's in the shooting phase, yeah.
I just look at a lot of the damage output of those units. The flesh borers being 12-inch range. Are you really going to get 30 Termagants in range for that? Even if you do, you hit 15, you wound well, if you've only rolled 3 6s on that on average, 2.5. So the mortals aren't that great. I could definitely see it if you're like, that has 1 wound left. I have to kill it, and you just pray for that 6 and you finish it off. But I'm not sure it's something that you're gonna like build towards.
Yeah, I think, and the same with the flesh borer. I've loved playing with the flesh borer hives. I think they were a lot of fun, and they it does feel a little bit like the Tyranid version of a Volkite Contemptor in some ways, because what you do obviously is you use a stratagem to make them 2 damage each, and then suddenly you've got quite a lot there because you're pumping out a lot of shots, and everyone that gets through is doing 2 damage. Is quite cool with the mortals on top. But that's four CPs, and we're drinking quite a lot of CPs all over the place. And to sink 4 into that, I'm not sure whether that's something that we're going to be looking at, to be honest. So, but it's fun, and it's definitely it can be strong, right?
Yeah, and I think it'll be one of those ones that'll definitely catch people off guard. The Tyrannifex is not a lot tougher, but it's definitely more tough than people think. 14 wounds, T8. Especially if it's in the Leviathan range where it's got Feel No Pain. So you might be able to like jam that thing into the center and then go, hey man, I got an aura of like, don't step in here, you're gonna get blasted.
Yeah. I think that's it. It probably does. It sounds scarier than it probably is, but yeah. But yeah, fair enough. Cool. Well, I think any other highlights on Stratagem? I think we probably covered majority of them. I think that's probably most of the highlights. Any others?
Yeah. No, I think that's good.
Good stuff. Okay, so that's pretty much. I mean, I think when we talk about the stuff that was ported over from Blood of Baal, I think the only real change is the symbiosis being reduced in its effectiveness slightly, and rightly so, probably.
Or really, it's just balanced out because it doesn't get neutered by forests anymore.
Yeah. So it's kind of fair enough, but it's nice to have them all together. But so, when we take that kind of like the all together, what are your kind of builds? What's kind of looking at a typical kind of Alex build now in the new book, in the new world?
I have been running basically bare minimum for GSC. Again, I'm not looking for them to deal damage for me. They are just a toolbox. They are blips and free deep strikers and easy rods and easy engages. And then the Magus is just there to say, no Overwatch for you. I started with a few bigger units, and I've like slowly been paring down how much I put into them. So Swarmlord, Tyranid Prime, and then 2 packs of Geon Stealers, Devourer Gaunts, Warriors Hormagaunts, and then Maliceptor, 2 packs of Hive Guard. I have a 6 and a 5, and again the 5 is I started with 6 and 6. I dropped 1 because it was that beginning bit of like, oh my gosh, there's so much power, just like raw killing power that I wanted. And then it was like, okay, but remember we need trash still. I need stupid idiots to run all over the place and go get objectives for me. So the Geon Stealers went from 16-16, probably down to 16 and 12. And again, that opened up 50 points to be like a Ripper Swarm, another Hormagaunt squad, whatever, right? A Ravener squad.
Yeah, fine, good. So so it's a bit of balance. So, but the 2 Hive Guard are pretty much a staple, aren't they? Obviously that's probably the big thing that that we're going to see in most lists. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. But yeah, good, cool. Well, look, I mean, I'm not going to hold you up for very much longer. It's been really, really awesome having you on the channel, and thanks very much for for your time. Again, if you do want to know kind of more about Tyranids and you want to know kind of how to kind of build your lists, get the most out of the army, because it's a very fun army to run, and I just think it's so different from anything else. So if you're thinking about it, definitely get in touch with Alex over in the Art of War. He can help you out there and kind of get you in the right direction, because I think it can have a bit of a steep learning curve, Tyranids. It still can be potentially a little bit unforgiving, don't you think, Alex?
Oh, definitely. It's still a very technical army. Your movement phase is very important, and understanding, because we're fragile, like just how much speed is important. Am I able to move between buildings with Swarmlord, like from cover to cover? Because I can't take the shots. There's no way I can survive that. So it's you really do activate in all the phases. You do movement, you do psychic, you do shooting, you do combat. So it's a very like evolving flow of the game. That's why I enjoy it though, because it's technical and complicated.
Excellent, that's awesome. And Alex, I could put you on the spot now. Will you come back on the show once we get Genestealer Cult, and hopefully not the too distant future?
Oh, of course.
That'd be awesome. We'll talk a bit about Genestealer Cult because I know that's close to your heart as well. So, but anyway, thanks very much for coming along, and thanks everyone for watching and tuning in. We really, really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you real soon. And bye for now.